Good morning, everyone. I am Kathy Hester, and welcome to my kitchen where we're going to spend the morning making sloppy joes, vegan style. So one of the reasons I'm doing this is because I was tasked to by my friend Jenny Field, who made her own version of sloppy joes. So she's kind of going through the blogosphere, trying to get everyone to make sloppy joes. To me, that's kind of an Americana dish that can be made with anything, really. And yay, Tanya! She's finally home to catch a live show. I'm glad to have you here. Those of you, I see a few people coming on. Those of you who are coming on, please say hi. Let me know where you're from, what the weather's like. It is sunny here. It is hot today. I think it's supposed to be over in the upper 80s, from what I understand. So, and that is Max, and he would like his treat. Cheryl is actually at work, so I'm going to disappear for a second and give Max a treat and hope that keeps him busy for a little while. This is one of the reasons that I have to have a wireless mic so that I can do all the things all the time. And now I'm back. Woohoo! And good morning, Jackie. And Tanya is from Irmo, South Carolina, and it's beautiful here. Lovely. So, and I'm counting this as week 4 of the new normal. You may or may not have received a stay-at-home order or whatever for 4 weeks ago, but that's where I'm counting it. So week 4, people are a little more serious. Sometimes it can be a little harder to get groceries. I've also been seeing on Facebook, there's this meme going around about, yeah, this blogger says, hey, let's make something from what you have in your pantry. And it's like, we want Madagascar vanilla beans, and we want, Rancho Gordo yellow Indian beans, and a dodo feather. So this is not like that, I promise you. You may or may not have tempeh. That's okay, we're going to talk about options. Those of you who know me know all my recipes are all about options. So, this is what we're going to start with. And I want to tell you, I know some of you, good morning, Anita. Thank you for joining me. If you're allergic to soy, there are some tempehs that you can buy that are not soy-based. Smiling Hara, which is a company in Asheville, North Carolina, has some, and I know that there's some other companies around the country. One thing you should know, the easiest to get, I'm also doing this because I scored big on our last Instacart order with tempeh. A lot of times it's hard to get the regular or the flax, which is gluten-free, versus the organic 3-grain. And let me let you see that a little bit, right? And this is the Trader Joe's brand, but there's a regular brand too, okay? This has barley in it. Barley has gluten. So just know that, okay? So if you're gluten-free, if you're not gluten-free, this stuff is available constantly, it seems like, where I live. So tempeh is a really good source of protein. It is very filling. It is fermented. And so even some of the people who aren't so keen on soy in general are okay if it's fermented. So this is something, it's an Indonesian soy food. And hello to all the other people who are here. We are making sloppy joes and talking about lots of variations. So I'm going to be making something similar to my tempeh tornado from the revised vegan slow cooker, and I think this recipe was in the not revised, the vegan slow cooker. So chances are you have it. It sold a bazillion copies. So I think it sold like 60,000 copies. So if you have a slow cooker cookbook, it could be mine. So check that out. Also, depending on where you're looking at this, somewhere around here, I have written a link to a recipe on healthyslowcooking.com for sloppy black-eyed peas. It's not a one-for-one thing. We're making up a new recipe. I'm not really using the tempeh tornado one either. And Anita likes tempeh, and she cooks for people, and many of them don't like the bitterness. And we're going to talk about that too. So There are two ways. If you're used to eating tofu, tofu is very bland and very malleable. Tempeh does have more flavor and texture, but it can be bitter. So one of the first things you can do is steam it for about 10 minutes. So I was trying to decide if I was going to do that, but like I would just cut it into cubes, maybe, I don't know, 12 pieces-ish. You put it over some boiling water, let it steam for 10 minutes, and then move along with your life. Or you can make a strong flavored sauce with it, and that will also cover up the bitterness, I found. So we're going to make a strong sauce. So to me, a Sloppy Joe sauce is something that has tomato flavor, maybe a little bit of vinegar, some other strong flavors, like we're going to use some vegan Worcestershire sauce. And I have some homemade that we made in my Plant-Based Staples Class 2 condiment class. And so if you guys are interested in maybe having some fun while you're at home and making some condiments, we did this. We made fishless sauce. We made all kinds of cool things. You can, of course, buy vegan Worcestershire sauce. And there, I think, and you'll have to check the labels, I think Whole Foods brand may be without anchovies. That's what makes normal Worcestershire sauce not vegan. So check on the label. If you don't see that, it could be accidentally vegan, but they have plenty that are marked vegan, and I think I have one of those in the fridge. Oh, actually, I have the Whole Foods one. So let me, and I'll show you from this way, okay? And the ingredients: vinegar, molasses, cane sugar, salt, caramel color, garlic powder, black pepper, allspice, nutmeg, cloves. Yeah, this one's good. It is made in a facility that processes a lot of things. So again, if you have like a dangerous allergy to either peanuts, tree nuts, milk, eggs, fish, wheat, or soy, then you should avoid this. That's what those labels mean. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily in here. There is a very elaborate cleaning process that happens. But should you accidentally get a molecule of one of those things and you might die, then you should not get this. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Okay, so I'm going to put this one back in. It's the 365 Organic. And keep reading labels because people change things all the time. So you guys have been with me. These are some of my frozen chopped onions and my frozen chopped peppers. So before I even start preparing the tempeh, I think I'm going to put a little bit of water in my pan, and I'm going to oillessly, I can't believe I was able to say that, saute these. And I think we're going to go about there. Now, so these are frozen already, and they may be a little bit thawed out just because I got things out ready to go. But I'm just going to go ahead and put those in and let them thaw and the pan heat up at the same time. These are, same thing, peppers that I cut up when I got them and put in the freezer for times like now. So I'm going to kind of just make sure these are a little apart. They're pretty easy to break up. The peppers I put in a big thick bag, and it's really too much, so I had to really expend more effort than I'd like to. So if you haven't, hi Miss Joanne, and she's in the car. You're awesome. Okay, so those of you who maybe aren't used to this, this actually is going to be kind of a double packaged thing. So first, we're going to open up this part, and it's going to pull out another package, okay? And this is the soy one, and it just has soy, culture, some brown rice, and some water, okay? So now this is also still packaged. So we have to get into that package. And you are going to see some things, and I wanted us to talk about that a little bit. it's not all going to be perfect. See, there's some brown or dark spots, and that's not a bad mold. And actually, while I'm putting the knife over here, I'm going to throw this other tempeh back in the fridge, because Cheryl will be eating it later, because that's the broily one. Okay. So these guys are just sauteing. And actually, while I'm out and about, let me grab a little bit of garlic too. I think we should put some garlic in there. All right. So you can see some of these dark spots. It's nothing to worry about. It's not the same kind of mold. So the white stuff on here, that is the culture. And what happens is when the culture basically makes its spores so that it can propagate. If you have a piece that's real black, it will be more bitter, but it does mean you could put it in a blender and make your own tempeh with it, right? So it's the spores like what we buy. So it's still edible. It's not going to hurt you. So know that. I'm going to cut this up into kind of small-ish pieces because I want it to seem like a crumble. So here are things you could use besides tempeh. You could use mushrooms, lentils, black-eyed peas. You could crumble some firm tofu. You could even do something like kidney beans. I've made sloppy buffalo beans with kidney beans and like a buffalo sauce. You could use something like Beyond Meat crumbles or Gardein crumbles. It's really up to you. This is your dish. Also, if we are doing this for quarantine food, it depends on what you have on hand. So once I realized I could get 6 things of tempeh, and these things can last for a very, very long time, I got them. Also, luckily for me, Cheryl's like really digging the tempeh right now. It's taken years, but she likes it now, and that's all that's really important to me. And Joanne is picking up her groceries at Whole Foods. She lives outside the delivery area. And Pam says, good morning. What about cauliflower pieces? Of course you could use cauliflower pieces. Like cauliflower rice is something I use a lot of time in the place of like Beyond Meat crumbles or something like that. You just want to make sure that you don't cook them too long, because remember, the longer you cook cauliflower, it's the cells burst and make that funky smell that no one likes. So as long as you're like grooving with that pretty well. Okay, let me get a couple of, let's just do one big piece of garlic. So those of you who haven't seen me do this before, most of you probably have. You take a flat end of a knife, have this not where it's going to be able, you want it to be fairly stable, and then punk. And you have to say that noise. Just kidding. You don't have to say that noise. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Well, you might have to do some stuff you don't want to do, but not because of me. That's all I have to say. Now we'll get my new favorite. Oh, I feel like it's a superhero of some kind. So we're going to, you can kind of see it happening. Oop. That is a piece of peel that we do not want. It's a heavy duty, so it really does work well as far as squishing it really well. So those of you that are just coming in, it's Sloppy Joe Day! Woo! Okay, I do get a little too excited. But you know what? It's okay. This is not the easiest time, so we need to take the joy where we can find it. And if it's an oat milk day or Sloppy Joe Day, I commend you for working to be a happier human being. And that's what I have to say about all this. And Carol says good morning, and she's glad to see me cooking this morning. Dinner tonight is already planned, and that is awesome. So I just put that garlic in here. I'm going to add a little more water. I tend to use a little more water when I'm using my induction burner because it's just a little hotter and less predictable. than my stove, but you can't see my stove very well. And I'm putting in about a cup of pre-chopped bell peppers. If you don't have onions and bell peppers, it's okay, leave them out. With onions, I would use onion powder. I would encourage you to always have onion powder and garlic powder in your house. Because if you're doing something in the Instant Pot or a slow cooker and you don't want to cook onions for a while, it's just nice and you still get that really good flavor. Now, I'm not telling you it's exactly the same, but if you don't have any, it's better than nothing, right? Okay, so right now we're just, and I think you guys can kind of, here we go, you can kind of see that. So I'm going to let these saute for a little bit. And Jen says, I have hemp tempeh, excellent, and that should work just fine. And also there are different flavors of tempeh. So like with where we are with Smiling Hara, their non-soy tempeh has flavors like raspberry habanero, salt and pepper. And so I'm going to make a sauce while we're on camera, one that probably I haven't made before. So I have tasting spoons so I can taste things as we go along. And another thing I did not bring over is salt. But remember, soy-free, we've got your option. If you're salt-free, you could use your salt substitute. And we can make this kind of Tex-Mexy. We can make this kind of barbecue-y. We can make this all different ways. All we want is this rich, complicated sauce that's made with uncomplicated ingredients. And almost always, whenever I say a complicated sauce, vinegar or of some kind will play a part in it. And there's vinegar in the Worcestershire sauce, but I also have some apple cider vinegar here. Typically with a sloppy joe, it's a little bit sweet too. Today, I'm going to use a little bit of agave nectar. You could use maple syrup. You could use date syrup. You could use just pureed date, okay? So if you're on a sophist diet, you can make this fit for you, too. And Carol said, I started a watch party, invited some friends to join us. Yay! Welcome, everybody. If you're new, and actually there's more people on, I am Kathy Hester of PlantBasedInstantPot.com and HealthySlowCooking.com, and I like to teach you how to make healthy food taste delicious and fit into your special diet. Welcome to my kitchen. Thanks for hanging out. We are making tempeh sloppy joes, but we're talking about all the other ways we can make sloppy joe-esque things to fit with what we have in our pantry. So we're kind of making quarantine food. Delicious, yummy quarantine food. And Laura said, never heard of tempeh flavored like that. What was the brand? Okay, let me see if I can find some in here. And I will show you. Okay, here's one of the raspberry ones. I don't know how far they're shipping things out. And see, with this is made with hemp and peanuts. Let me see if I got that. And it's not inexpensive. I will tell you that, but it is delicious. And this one is particularly spicy. Here we go. Can you guys see that pretty good? Oh. Okay. And they have other flavors. They have regular tempeh as well. The salt and pepper is one of my favorite ones to serve with like Brussels sprouts sauteed with like liquid smoke and maple syrup. And that's something I really enjoy. I think we can up this a little bit. And the thing is if you live someplace where you can't get Smiling Hara, you may be able to order it and have it shipped to you. But there may be an artisanal tempeh maker that's closer to you. So if you're in the Midwest, maybe check out Chicago, right? I would be shocked. We used to have in our little Durham, North Carolina, we had our own tempeh maker, and she stopped producing her tempeh. And it was the best tempeh I ever had in my life. So there's all different kinds of ways. And also I don't think I brought it over here, in my new book, Gluten-Free Vegan Cooking in Your Instant Pot, I have a recipe on how you can make your own black-eyed pea tempeh. And I'm thinking next week maybe we'll make some tempeh and just check in on it every day. And that might be my lives for the week. And they may start a little earlier like this one. I'm also taking a couple of classes and things, so if I could kind of move this up, it might be good. However, I will try to give you at least 15 minutes notice before I go live. That much I promise you. Anybody else have questions so far? I know it's very exciting watching things saute. I'm being very sarcastic. Ooh. Ah. And another thing you can do if you have a super picky eater is we can make all this and make the sauce and puree it. But that's not what we're doing right now. I'm going to go ahead and put the tempeh in, and we could crumble it, or I'm just going to try and chop it up some while we're cooking to get a little bit more crumble action out of this. And if I may need the other spatula. So let me grab that. So also, those of you who are new, tell me where you're from, how the weather's like, what's going on. The good sauce part will come after this, the part that will make everything, that will change the world and your life. Okay. Oh, and Ashley says black-eyed pea tempeh sounds so good. I thought it was pretty good. And I was very happy for it being my first kind of tempeh, because I knew I wanted people to be able to get something, people who are allergic to soy, to be able to get some tempeh or make tempeh that they could eat. And even by sauteing this with this steam coming out, it is a little bit like steaming tempeh. It's not exactly. Typically, I still would do it first. And I'm just, again, I could crumble it up with my hands, but then I'd have to wash my hands yet again on camera. And I feel like that's boring for you to watch. So, I know. This is not that much more interesting, watching me chop things in a pan. But so this is another thing. You could make your sloppy joes where it's not all crumbly down, right? You could leave it cut up in small pieces like that. You don't have to serve it over bread, though you could. You could put it in a bun, over toast. We could put it over mashed potatoes, or rice, or quinoa. Okay, so you can think of it as just this really savory, nice stew, thick stew that you can do with whatever you'd like. And Deborah says, hi Kathy, thank you so much for showing your recipe for your chili. Awesome. And you could make this into chili too, actually, like real chili. We could put some beans in here too if we needed to stretch it. And Jackie says she bought a case of the original tempeh, and I might try some of that. Yeah, it doesn't. My little town doesn't carry tempeh of any kind, and I can understand. What's weird to me is a lot of the mid to fancier groceries where I live right now are carrying it, like, you know, in that vegan section where they have like some faux meat and things. It's almost always the 3 grain. And that's kind of why I was telling people, hey, maybe you can get a little bit of tempeh where you are right now, because that, even at Whole Foods, that seems to be the one thing that's not selling out where I am in the Triangle in North Carolina. Here, let you see overhead. Okay. Okay, well, the first thing I want to do, you could use some diced tomatoes, but I'm going to put some tomato paste in there. Usually I would just throw this, I put globs in the freezer, so we're not going to use this whole thing of tomato paste. And if anybody wants to keep track of what I put in here, that would be awesome. Or maybe Brandy or Dawn would come back later and do that. So I know I'm going to put at least 1 heaping tablespoon of tomato paste. So that's going to give us some umami. Tomatoes are great with that. And actually, I think I'm going to want to, so we're going to get that mixed up. Because I'm only doing 1 thing of tempeh with this. You could also double the recipe. I'm going to get some nutritional yeast too. I think I would like that, and I would like some pepper. And I am going to add more water to this as I'm going. And we'll find the right place between too watery and saucy, right? We want it to be saucy like we are. Hi, Miss Norma. How are you today? And Laura says her kids are vegetarian from birth and never like sloppy joes. And maybe this will change it. And I do know some people that have never had meat don't like the faux meats because it, for those of us who have those kind of childhood food memories, it can make a difference. Okay. So I'm going to also go ahead, I'm probably going to put, let's try a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. I'm going to lower this heat a little bit. Let's do 2. I'm thinking we're probably going to end up with the tablespoon. And let's do 1 more tablespoon, or 1/2 tablespoon. So 1.5 tablespoons of tomato paste. And we could stir the nutritional yeast in last, but I'm just trying to kind of get an idea of what I want. I'm going to put a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce in there. I'm also going to put 1/2 teaspoon of liquid smoke. You could use smoked paprika instead if you wanted to. Let's mix this stuff up. And you can mix up a sauce before you start this. But this was a challenge, and so let's make it challenging is what I say. And hopefully this will work out really well and you'll have a recipe after this. This is how I develop all my recipes, is either by tasting things or smelling them. And usually it's a combination of both. Okay. Okay. To me, it's going to need some salt. So I would salt to taste. I'm probably going to put about 1/2 teaspoon. You could also use garlic powder to help get some of that bite as well. And I'm going to use about 2 teaspoons of agave nectar. That could be date paste. It could be date syrup. It could be maple syrup. Because it's a little bit sweet. It's a little bit savory. It's a little bit tangy. Let's see what we got so far. That's pretty good right there. But I am not done yet. What else did I bring? You could put a little molasses. You could put some mustard in there if you wanted. I think I'm going to go ahead and put the other 1/2 tablespoon of tomato paste, making that two. And I think I'm going to add another Worcestershire. So 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. It had enough liquid smoke. and it had enough sweetness for me. And Cindy says hi. Hi, Cindy. And Black Eyed Pea, Carol says Black Eyed Pea tempeh sounds delicious. Oh, and you know what? I keep forgetting I can put these things up for you guys to read. There you go. I'm sorry, you guys. I was busy cooking and I forgot about our fun toys that we have on eCam. Okay, let me let you look here again. And I'll go back and put a few other comments up. And see how that tomato paste needs to get really incorporated in and mixed well. And here's another thing. Let's say Cheryl is actually working from work. She's putting it in a camera so that they can see if somebody is picking up mail or not at the office. But if she decides she doesn't want to eat this when we come home, then I can freeze this or put it in the fridge for later. So you could, let's say you, like Jackie, bought a case of tempeh. You could prepare it and have this ready for those nights that you don't want to do anything. And I tell you what, last night was one of those nights for me. What that meant was I went in my freezer and I got some refried beans I had put in there. Pretty much on the money for me right there. So I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to turn this off. I'll let you guys see this. But let me see if you have any comments. And there's Carol's. Oh, I think I already had Carol up there. Okay. Oh, this pan is heavy. So that's what mine looks like. It tastes rich, tastes smoky. You could serve this over anything. I think, I would say for sure, because I'm getting some tempeh with all this, right? Okay. And other than kind of that clean, nutty flavor you get from tempeh, I don't really taste a lot of bitterness. Now, some of that is cut by a sauce that has a lot of Worcestershire, liquid smoke, some sweet, some tomato all together, and a little bit of extra vinegar. And Bonnie says, Kathy, that looks so good. Thank you, Bonnie. And Jenny, who issued this challenge to begin with, said it looks good, rich and smoky, sounds like an excellent combination. So, and this, should you leave out the salt and use a salt substitute or instead use granulated garlic to give you a little of that bite if you cannot have salt? It's SOS free. I didn't use any oil. Lying like a dog. I did not. It's oil free. I did use some agave nectar, so it is not sugar free. It is refined sugar free, depending on your personal definition. You could use date syrup or pureed dates or molasses. I even have some molasses over here. So molasses would make that flavor even a little darker and more umami, not umami. Let's put just like a half teaspoon in. Let's see what happens. I think it's going to be good. And so it's okay to put smaller amounts in things. I know a lot of people feel like, well, if you're doing a half teaspoon, why even bother with it, right? But when you're dealing with something like this, you're basically, when we make Worcestershire sauce, we are using a lot of different ingredients to make this one sauce. So you're not getting a whole lot of that particular ingredient when you use a teaspoon or two of Worcestershire sauce. This molasses that we're adding is kind of a similar idea. It must be hot outside. Either that or I'm not used to being over the stove anymore. Okay, let's see what the molasses did. I like it. It just took the high note off the sweetness and added a little more darker, rich flavor to it. And it's just a hint. But this is good. This was easy. I spent a lot longer. I guess I spent a half an hour making it, start to finish, but we were making the sauce as we went along. So once these sauce ingredients are written out, and if you've taken notes, will you put them up in the comments for me? Because I'd really appreciate that. You can make the sauce to begin with, have it to the side, and just put it on. So it would literally be the time it takes to saute onions, peppers, and garlic, pour on your sauce, chop up your tempeh, and that's it. And then you have a dinner, and it's got veggies in it. You could use 1 tablespoon of tomato paste and maybe use a can of diced tomatoes. Cheryl will pick out the diced tomatoes. So I was thinking of making a sauce in the blender and putting over here, and then that kind of defeats the purpose of this being super, super easy. So I didn't do that. Bonnie says it looks good. Jenny says that, and I think that's it. Do you guys have any questions? So what we did is we made tempeh sloppy joes. Ooh. Ah. And Joanne says she's home now with her groceries, which I'm assuming are lots of veggies. So one of the things about this is if you're allergic to soy, you don't have to use soy. You can use a hemp tempeh. We could also have sauteed mushrooms along with the vegetables, and we could have even done like rice cauliflower and made this a whole 100% veggie dish. We could have either added some canned beans or use canned beans instead. It's the sauce. And we're adding water as we go to make sure it's thick enough. The water I needed to add for this with the tempeh would be different than if I used mushrooms. So you're just going to add it as you go. If you add too much water, just cook it down, just reduce it. So we just keep stirring and let all that steam is the dish releasing that liquid. Okay, and Sherry says, yum. And Anne says, thanks for the vegan option. There are always vegan options. So, and if you have a dish that you wish you were doing, also notice, oh, I love it. And she loves my Hogwarts shirt. Yeah, I am a Harry Potter geek. Those of you who aren't familiar with me, I wear lots of Harry Potter paraphernalia. And it makes me feel good. Also, where the camera is above that, we've got like candles hanging from the ceiling that come on, and I have keys over there. We have a big Harry Potter party every year, so maybe we'll have to have that early and possibly virtually. We'll see if I can catch up on some things. But anyhow, as always, I appreciate you guys joining me. I want you to know that I care. I hope you're doing well. I know it's a hard time. I hope this helps. We've got a great community. If you're new, go ahead and look at my free Facebook group, Vegan Recipes, Cooking with Kathy Hester. You can just say, Kathy sent me, and I'll let you in. There's a great community there. I do believe Max is yelling at the mailman for doing his job, so don't worry about Max. He's okay. Also, around, I have a few different things, so I'm going to be selling some of my books at virtualvegfest.com, which will both help support the Veg Fest that my area Veg Fest and me. So I'm going to try and put something up. We should have the Outrageous Oatmeal books up for sale, and I can sign them for you. So that will also be exciting. I have April classes coming up. If you were affected financially by COVID-19, if you're unemployed or underemployed at the moment, there is a link where you can go and sign up for a 31-day trial of Kathy's Cooking Club, which means you can take some of these classes for free. And after the trial ends, they'll just send you an email saying, hey, do you want to sign up? You don't need a credit card or anything to do these. So, and if you are not affected financially by the new normal, it would be awesome if you wanted to purchase a class or a book That would be very helpful for me. And also this week, which I think we have a few more days left in, if you go to Amazon.com and look up Kathy Hester, you will see that 2 of my books on Kindle version are on sale for 99 cents. One is Vegan Cooking in Your Air Fryer, and the other one is the Easy Vegan Cookbook. And I think I have those over here. Okay. 99-cent Kindle books, because also Amazon isn't really sending out books right now, so it's a way for you to get it soon. And later this afternoon, this is what we're going to be having up on virtualvegfest.com. I'll try and put up a note. Cindy's so sweet. And Sherry says she joined late, but she'll be rewatching this to get the how-tos. I haven't had Sloppy Joe since I've been vegan. And it's so easy peasy. It's easy peasy. And Joanne says we care too, and I know. It's a hard time. We're all in this together. You don't have to be happy all the time. You don't have to want to cook all the time, but still we need to eat, right? So we're trying to be real in here. And sometimes, because I'm going to do Monday through Friday lives until this stuff, it comes back to whatever the really new normal is, the normal we want to have. And Sherry said she purchased both of the 99-cent books this week, and thank you. I appreciate that. And Laura says, I have a convection oven. Does that work the same as an air fryer? Not exactly, but can you try to make air fryer recipes in it? Yes, you can. You just probably will have to cook it longer. You know, depending on the recipe, anywhere from 25% to 50% longer. Because it's the same thing, because small air fryers cook faster than larger ones, so there's a little bit of that everywhere. And Laura, I do have some air fryer classes. Oh, I haven't mentioned this in a while, so if you would like to buy the April bundle or the April classes that are coming up, then you will go to kathyhester.podia.com, and you'll see those. And you have to use the special link that's in the posts if you want to get the unemployed, underemployed price, which is a free trial. And then I also have a sale on my other pre-recorded classes that have already been recorded live. They're very similar to what you're seeing now, and that's kathy-hester.teachable.com. So kathy-hester.teachable.com. And all those classes are usually $35 each. They're $20 each with the code Eat Healthy, Be Kind. All one word, no space. Eat healthy, be kind. All one space. And so I have Instant Pot classes, I have air fryer classes, I have spice bin classes, I have a whole bunch of really great classes. And so that's something that you can buy right now and watch immediately. Even though you're not taking the class live, you'll have a place where you can ask me questions. And so you still get the benefit of everything of the class. And I think that is about it. Okay? So I did not see any pictures of oat milk yesterday. Perhaps someone will bestow upon me the gift of a picture of their sloppy whatever. And Sherry says, do you think virtual will be happening everywhere this year, or was it due to the timing in your area? Do you think virtual? Oh, do you mean as far as virtual classes? Sherry, if you could be a little more specific. Or Virtual Veg Fest, is that what you're talking about? Virtual Veg Fest is actually a website that they're creating to have some speakers. And there are some speakers on there now. Helene, who runs the Triangle Veg Fest here and Veg Fests all over the country. She has a bunch of Veg Fests she's involved with. Thought about doing this since a couple of events of hers are definitely postponed. And that's a way that people can still get a taste of everything, and vendors are going to be able to sell, and that's the only place at this point that I am personally going to be selling my cookbooks, so that I can autograph them or write something special. And so it's a win-win because they take a very small percentage, and I'm happy for them to have it to run that site. And then I would actually get more money for the book than I would if it got bought through the publisher on Amazon or in Barnes & Noble. So it's kind of a big win for everyone. And they're looking really hard to make sure the vendors and the speakers have a place to speak and things like that. Okay, Veg Fest, and that was what she meant. Okay, awesome. And Helene's just awesome anyhow. So those of you who don't know her, hopefully will get a chance to. And I see people are going, they're tired of me talking. Big virtual hugs to all of you guys. Make sure, this is me being your teacher mom, that you're getting enough sleep. If you didn't get enough sleep last night and you can take a nap, take a nap. There's no shame in taking a nap. Keep yourself rested, keep yourself hydrated, eat veggies, make some food. If it helps you make more elaborate meals, if it's fun, if it's interesting and lifts your spirits, do. But realize you can make super healthy, tasty foods really simply too. And that is okay. And if you don't have onions in your freezer, I personally give you permission to use onion powder instead. Don't cut up things if you don't want to, or use your food processor. Okay? So virtual hugs to everyone. Be helpful if you can. But most of all, be kind to yourself and to other people. Everyone's trying their best, and it's really hard. Just remember that. However hard it is for you, it could be even harder for someone else. Okay, guys, big hugs, virtual hugs, of course. And I will see you guys tomorrow at a time I have not decided yet. Okay. I have nothing else to say, so I'll wave goodbye.